Today we're talking about Vengeance Demon Hunter as the most popular of the tanks by a long shot. They are 70% more popular than the second most popular tank, which was what we made an entire video about. This one, the most popular tank back then, was right neck and neck with Vengeance, but ever since this new reset, possibly, I'm assuming, after Blood has been nerfed by quite a lot, in terms of their damage especially, Vengeance has pulled ahead, greatly ahead on popularity levels compared to Blood. So we are currently taking a look at what has been going down with Vengeance to make them such a powerful spec. Because we have seen the degeneracy of beta players already. Many of them simply play the spec that has the biggest numbers, regardless of how good it is, how nice it is to play. They ignore currently very low number specs, even if they play quite nicely. For example, I think Arms right now plays quite well as a spec, but their numbers are poor, so nobody plays them. And they play 2-button brain dead specs just because their numbers right now are high, like Beast Mastery. So what could be the case for Vengeance? Why is it being played? So the first bit of Vengeance to mention all of the unawares is that now they also have a new hero talent, because they added Devourer as a spec for Demon Hunter, and Devourer stole Felskard away from Vengeance. Now Felskard is only for Devourer and Havoc, and now Vengeance has Annihilator as an extra hero talent now. So the first thing to point out is that compared to how they play right now in live, Aldrachi River is still there and you play with nearly the same talents. Basically, the talents that existed right now in the War Within are still the same you take in Midnight. You have to then change a few of the new ones that are coming, but you aren't changing the default where you play around Frailty, the default where you still play with things like Fiery Demise and Fell Flame Fortification and Burning Alive and Charred Flesh down this entire line. Those are still basically the same points. Ignoring every single Fell Devastation talent like you were in live is still there. Now what is more relevant for Vengeance is that they have been perhaps the tank that has been hit the most by simplification, by streamlining of the spec. One of the streamlining is Demon Spikes. So Demon Spikes has been up and down throughout the years for Vengeance. Sometimes it was a very high uptime, sometimes it was never going to be 100% uptime, so you had to choose when to use it properly. Now it has been simplified quite significantly. You have lost half of your extra talents you had to actually talent into to buff Demon Spikes. Now it lasts by default 12 seconds instead of lasting 8 and taking a talent to last 10. Now you also get the extra 5% DR when into Demon Spikes, and it makes it much less thoughtless than before. You could already get to a very high near guaranteed permanent Demon Spikes normally, but it required more work than it does now. For example, if you look at this run, you have 214 casts of Demon Spikes which last 12 seconds. So this is a total of 43 minutes worth of uptime of Demon Spikes, and this run, this key, lasted 32 minutes. So you had 10 minutes left over of extra Demon Spikes with this new version. It's a longer lasting Demon Spikes, and on top of that, your Feed the Demon talent has been buffed to reduce the cooldown of Demon Spikes, not by 0.35 per soul fragment spent, but rather the cooldown now is every 20 fury spent is a 1 second discount, which gives you even further discounts than before. So it has been made even simpler, even easier, and even more chill to be sure you always have Demon Spikes running now as a Vengeance Demon Hunter. The other thing with Vengeance in terms of streamlining was how less relevant Sigil of Flame has been made compared to live. For example, you have lost the CDR given to you by Sigil of Flame casting on your other sigils, and you have lost the 12% parry chance from Illuminated Sigils. Both of these are now gone. Illuminated Sigils is outright gone, and Cycle of Binding, now it's a flat CDR on all of your sigils without giving you any extra on your Sigil of Flame. Sigil of Flame also now cannot overlap anymore from Ascending Flame that you have in live, allowing you to overlap Sigil of Flame. And the other useful thing that you used to have in live for Sigil of Flame was Frailty. The fact that you could hit enemies with Sigil of Flame and then you could hit them with Soul Cleave, and then you could hit them with Spirit Bomb, and all three of these buttons would put Frailty on the enemy. The reason why it was important for all three of them to put Frailty is because Frailty can overlap. You can have multiple applications of Frailty. So if you jump into a new pack and you Spirit Bomb, and then you Soul Cleave, and then you had put down your Sigil of Flame, which blows up, that's 3 stacks of Frailty. So it's 24% healing from the damage you deal, it's 9% damage reduction, it's 12% increased damage taken, because it's 3 stacks of Frailty, which made Sigil of Flame useful. This is gone, because Frailty has also been streamlined. Now there is no multiple applications stacking. Now you still have Frailty here, enemies struck by Sigil of Flame and Soul Cleave and Spirit Bomb applying Frailty, so they are still there. You still have the healing on a percentage of the damage you do, you still have the damage reduction, and you still have the damage increase. What has changed though is that now they don't overlap, they simply have doubled buffs. So now it's 12% increased damage, it's 8% damage reduction, and it's 16% healing, but you don't have to think about this anymore. You don't have to think about cycling your Sigil, your Soul Cleave, or your Spirit Bomb to stack up the Frailty overlapping, because now it's not there anymore. So you have lost the intricacy of Sigil of Flame, the intricacy of Frailty, practically, from your build, from your options, from your everyday rotation. In fact, if you look at your run-of-the-mill Aldrachi River Demon Hunter from basically last couple of days, you will see that now it's a Soul Cleave Fracture spam with a very near guaranteed uptime of Demon Spikes and little else. At the moment, Aldrachi River is favoring generating as many Soul Fragments as possible, which means Soul Cleave is above everything, including Spirit Bomb and including Fell Devastation, which you won't even find as a cast spell in here, despite the fact that they are there. They are given to you. These buttons are given to you for granted at the beginning of your talent trees, still not taken, still pointless to click. Same goes for Sigil of Flame. Pretty much almost certainly cast just to like pull mobs, for example, and that's about it. The rest is just the same. If you look at the timeline of your average run-of-the-mill pull of this Aldrachi, is just the same spam of the same buttons. Keep up the Demon Spikes and keep up your Immolation Aura. But for the rest, it is just these buttons. You don't really have any other options at the moment, given how weaker these other tools have been made. Fell Devastation, Sigil of Flame, Spirit Bomb for Aldrachi River is still not really that big of an option. So you have lost quite a lot of intricacies around your build. That's why we said the most streamlined of tanks, because you have lost all of these minute details for some of your buttons that are just not there anymore. Now there is something in here for Vengeance that might look cool at first glance, which is the new Annihilator, the new hero talent. Now at first, when you look at the comparison from what we just looked for Aldrachi River, when you look at this, right, and then you compare it with what Annihilator is doing right now, you're like, wow, look at all of those cool things you get to do damage with instead of this boredom, right? This must be much improved. Well, not really. So the thing right now is that Annihilator has a similar problem to what we had a video about for Blood. You know, the whole thing about your Apex talent giving you free procs of Dancing Rune Weapon, and you having an entire hero talent around the Dancing Rune Weapon being active to proc your gift of the Blood Queen buff, haste buff, Vampiric Strike, etc., which has just been nerfed in this latest round of tuning. Now you have to actually click on Dancing Rune Weapon to gain all of those buffs. Annihilator has something very similar, tied to your Apex talents, which we haven't touched yet. The only thing that matters is that now Soul Cleave and Spirit Bomb have a chance to give you a free cast of Meta for 10 seconds. This works like an Evoker's Time Spiral, so when this procs you get just a free extra charge clickable on your Meta, and the whole synergy with Annihilator is with Mass Acceleration. You gain 3 stacks of Voidfall and reset the cooldown of Spirit Bomb upon activating Meta. And right now, this activating Meta also works with this proc. So you get the 3 stacks of Voidfall and the full cooldown of Spirit Bomb. And what's even better is that this is not a random proc. so you don't know, you just get randomly thrown into meta. This is a proc which enables you to click on meta whenever you want at your own leisure, which means you can build up your fragments to land a spirit bomb, send spirit bomb on cooldown, and then activate this procced meta to fully reset the cooldown of spirit bomb. And this is very powerful with Annihilator and with this Voidfall Fracture, giving you a chance to gain Voidfall stacks. Once you reach 3 stacks, Soul Cleave consumes a stack to start dropping meteors down. And then you empower this 3 with, when you are at 3 stacks, Spirit Bomb or Soul Cleave consumes all 3 at once. So you don't need multiple GCDs to consume them all, it's just with a single button. So when you see this, while it might look cool, these are all part of the same explosion of meteors, which is 40% of your damage right now. Voidfall Meteor is the effect itself. World Killer is the final point, which is the final meteor, is going to be stronger than the others. So that's one of those in here. Catastrophe is the extra damage that you leave behind, 25% extra damage over 8 seconds. And then you have Meteor Shower, which is another one of these talents. Your first Spirit Bomb after entering meta also has an extra splash AoE effect, which also means when this procs and you get the cooldown reset of Spirit Bomb, as soon as you Spirit Bomb again, you get this damage burst. So all of these combined are giving you tons of extra free damage. You still are not really into using Fell Devastation or using Sigil of Flame, but at least they are usable. You don't need as many soul fragments or as much fury to dump to generate soul fragments because you don't play with Aldrachi, so you can still click this button, but you're still not really actually bothering to focus on the actual talents for this button because it's still very weak. You are obviously playing around Spirit Bomb since Dark Matter functions only with Spirit Bomb, and then you also have extra damage on Spirit Bomb from the hero talent itself, so you still play with the button. And right now a lot of the power of this build comes from the procs of meta you have. You see from this key, from this 15 Magister Steros done yesterday, basically, how many procs of meta you have, even though technically meta should have a 2-minute cooldown, even with the extra CDR you gain from Annihilator, because the last point also reduces the cooldown of meta by 10 seconds every time you consume the stacks of Voidfall. Even with that, you see how many procs you get. This is your big meta, and these are all your small procs. So if you look at this window right here, for example, this is a normal meta. This is a normal meta with a small proc in it because it starts at 1338 and ends at 1408. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these Apex Talent meta procs in 5 minutes, basically 5 procs in 5 minutes. And all these meta procs do give you the meteor damage. You can visibly see the effect of the meteors. They are literally attached to every time you enter. So this means that every time you enter meta, even when it's a free one, even when it's a freebie from your Apex talent, all of this works. All of this effect of entering meta and giving you the reset of Spirit Bomb, for example, works even when it's a small meta. So it's also very powerful in that sense, the amount of times you get to get into meta, because of course it's also extra defense. Meta isn't just getting more damage, it's also getting more tankiness by being in Metamorphosis, as meta by itself gives you 40% more HP and 200% more armor. So the more times you proc this and get these resets and the CDR of meta from World Killer to get you more into meta. You do also get more value from a few talents you were completely ignoring in Eldrachi River, like Soul Barrier. Obviously, with the amount of times you get to free proc and reset your Spirit Bomb, Soul Barrier gains way more value. It is, however, an interesting discussion to have, because while being the most popular of the specs when it comes to tanks, it has been one of the more hurt in terms of playstyle. Since Vengeance was one of the more delicate specs already in the way it worked, it wasn't nearly as straightforward as a spec, say, like Guardian. Now it has definitely been simplified quite greatly. Now there isn't anything inherently wrong with the spec itself. There is a reason why it's the most popular. They do a lot of damage. After the nerf of Blood Decay, probably now the best damage out of all tanks. And despite being streamlined and simplified, the spec functions still just fine. They still have great utility, mob control, and tankiness, even more so with this new Apex talent giving you now free procs of meta. It's amongst arguably the strongest of the Apex talents for tanks, especially now that the Decay one has been nerfed. But it was worth pointing out that beware, even while Vengeance is now very popular, it has lost quite a bit of that extra uniqueness, extra finesse it used to have in a few of its buttons, like Sigil of Flame, like the Frailty stacking, like Fell Devastation still being reasonably useless, and a few other streamlining and simplifications around the spec because of the pruning and the standardization that Blizzard is pulling out in Midnight for many of the specs, and Vengeance has been particularly hit by these changes. So this was the point we wanted to make for today, since it is the most popular tank, just in case someone is started to get interested in playing the tank because they see the tank all the time, they notice the tank being the popular one. We wanted to outline and highlight what has been going down in Vengeance so far in the beta. So, with this out of the way, on this Sunday, it is now time to leave each other. We're starting the goodbyes as usual by thanking everyone for having watched the video, together with, of course, everyone else who has been supporting Competitive for free by liking and commenting down below, as well as subscribing to the channel itself. Now, with these things out of the way, thank you guys again for watching. See you guys tomorrow, and in the meantime, sure. At this time, we are still not seeing any snow, but by Christmas, you know, as usual, maybe if we get some, just a bit.